Hey guys, it's Dukon Red 1 and welcome to episode 3 of Dukonians Reforged. And, well, there's a lot of progress. That is not an understatement. We have spent the past 2 months creating the surroundings around Dunecaledon, and that is fields, a mill, pastures, a market, a fortress, the docks, a Boatmaker, and a winery slash brewery, and then of course the Great Wall of the Dooney. Anywho's, we've gotten a lot done, and I'm excited to show you guys through this. Don't mind me, just fishing for a monster, if you know what I mean. Hey, look at that, we got a raw cod. Fantastic. Now with that behind us, we are going to start looking through all of the things that we have added. Now, I'm not going to be able to do a full walkthrough of everything. Obviously, that's going to take an absolutely insane amount of time. However, what we are going to do is kind of show you guys through the main ideas. And there is a second video listed in the description below where you are able to watch a more thorough and very quality, might I add, showcase of all of the details that are in this surroundings around Dunecaledon. So make sure you guys watch that. But for right now, we're just gonna do a little first-person showcase through everything. So that is actually section 1 that we just walked through, the fields. As you can see, there is a berry field, and then there are 3 stages of the wheat harvesting process. Harvested, half harvested, and untouched. But yeah, so that turned out really nicely. There's a lot of little details around. Of course, the atmosphere turned out really nice. Farrar worked down here, and as you can see, he's very talented when it comes to environmental detailing and atmospheric detailing. Unfortunately, my shaders see through the world, but don't mind that. Okay, so moving on. This over here is a lightning struck tree. We got a pasture over here, and then of course the creek makes its way on up, and this here is the mill. The mill is, well, exactly as it sounds, a mill to grind down wheat or barley or whatever other grains that need to be ground down into a more usable form. And as you can see, the style of all of these homesteads is sort of like an enclosed defensive positions, and each one's a little bit different. Of course, the style here is based off of a fish without fins style, which is up here in Dunecaledon. He developed this style for our survival part of Dunecaledon, and I wanted to translate that down on the homestead. And so coming back here, you can clearly tell how that turned out, and I really like how this mill turned out. So yeah, very happy with that. Across the stream from the mill is actually a little path. Now, maybe you are wondering, where does this little path lead? Well, it leads to a ritual circle of sorts over here. And no idea what it is exactly is its purpose, but apparently it's a very old and ancient tree. And at the base is this sort of like circle around it, and then an altar of sorts. So I would like to think that blood sacrifice is not necessarily part of the Dooney culture, but who's to say? Moving on from that, over here we have the pasture section of Dunecaledon. Here we have oxen pastures. As you can tell, there are, well, mud pies all over the place. But I really like the idea of it being sort of divided. You got all these little hedgerows and trees along the edges. All the way along the outside, you have sort of this border wall. And then, of course, I really like these little rocks. Kind of like, it kind of indicates that there's this big rock running underground, and then you can kind of see it poking up every now and then. So I like how that detail turned out. And then over here is the horse pastures. As you can see, they are a little bit larger and a little bit less divided as the oxen pastures. But the big difference with this is the horses actually do their thing in sort of like little clumps and undesirable parts of the pasture. So I kind of did that because as a kid, I grew up with horses, and I noticed that, I don't know, maybe it was just something that the horses that I grew up with, maybe that's just something they did specifically, but anyways, the horses that I grew up with did that, so that's why I did that here. And I forgot to mention, there's actually a fourth pasture down here on the water's edge along the creek, so there's technically 4 horse pastures. Right here is a sinkhole well. Thought it'd be a really cool idea to put a water source in the middle of all these fields, surrounded by a forsythia, shrubbery, hedge thing, a riding circle, and then a garden over here. And then, of course, you got a little place to shod the horses, a place to make some horseshoes and things. And then we got the livestock homestead, where a rather well-to-do property owner lives. So I'm thinking I think there's like 12 people that live in here. I think there's 10 horses. I think there's room for 10 horses, and then like, I don't know, 8 oxen or something of that nature. But ultimately, it's not like a lot of room. Obviously, ideally, a proper ranch would be like 10 times this size, but, well, you know, we're a little bit constricted, so we don't want to build into the horizon. But that's all right. We just kind of make do with what we got. So here we are at the market area, or square, or I guess the market, the Dooney Market. Anyways, the Dooney Market is actually a very colorful and bustling with activity environment, and it is situated right outside the main gate. We were trying to figure out what would make sense to have right outside the main gate of Dunecaledon. Well, I was like, well, we don't really have a market yet. So, lo and behold, what you see before you is the result of that decision. In the middle is a obelisk. Who knows where that obelisk is from? It is obviously not Dooney. The idea is possibly the people or the ancient beings that were before the Dooney put it there. Some sort of waystone or magical conduit. But again, if you guys want to see through this marketplace and see a better look as to what everything is, again, in the second video, there is a more in-depth and quality showcase of everything. So make sure that you guys go watch that. And if you guys want to watch something in a specific part of Dunecaledon while we're looking through this video, you can just skip to the chapter in the second video and then just watch that specifically. So anyways, we're walking this way, and I'm sure you guys are wondering, what is down here? Gong Pits. Everybody likes a good gong pit, right? I'm sure half of you don't even know what a gong pit is, but anyways, it's where all the crap from all these Dooney go. Obviously, they would prefer it not to be stinking up their houses and their hillsides and things, so there would be a very unlucky few individuals that would be tasked with taking that stinky mess somewhere to be disposed. And so that is what these gong pits are. These are disposal pits that would then be buried underneath the dirt. And then that would take care of, well, the problem. Otherwise, it would be kind of dumped into rivers, or like the runoff from it would go into the streams and stuff. And then, well, the people downstream would not be so lucky. Coming back up to the market, we actually have a few campsites where traveling merchants can stay. This is where they would sort of stay the night and just, you know, while they're participating in the market activities up here, they would camp down there. One thing I want to show you guys in particular, and it kind of like rubs along the world lore type of thing, is this dwarven wagon. Django actually made this, and he did an incredible job with this, I think. But this really turned out really, really well. So, but that kind of gives you guys an idea of, you know, there's more to this world than just, you know, kind of like Celtic cavemen of sorts. Because that's what you kind of figure when you see these sort of thatch roof buildings and the style overall. Over here, we have some little gardens and things. Obviously, the Dunecaledon villagers would need to produce their own food. Otherwise, they would be, well, snatching on everybody else's food, and that is not acceptable. So, the Dooney villagers would be in charge of getting their own food, and so they got beans, cabbage, carrots, berries, peas, herbs, all kinds of stuff, wheat. And then the list goes on as you go up the hill there. So I'm sure you guys are noticing in the background a rather large anthill or a termite mound. Well, or a Jedi temple for those of you that are imaginative. But this is in fact Rathamiroth, or the Dooney Fortress. I don't know if you guys remember last episode, but I had a little sign here that said this road will lead to the fortress, and lo and behold, here it is. 2 months later. But as you can see, the quarry is now, it makes more sense why it's there. The idea is that this rock feature kind of continued into the artificial mound that Dunecaledon is built on, and then they quarried it back, and then that made it a little bit more separated, giving Rathamiroth a more defensive position. And I like how that turned out, especially the bridge over here. I really like that. I wanted something that didn't really look medieval, because obviously we wanted to create a more fantasy and interesting atmosphere, and I feel that that bridge does the trick. But yeah, Rathamiroth really turned out quite nice. I really like that. It has a Brock kind of center, and then you got these sort of like little slate roof, organic buildings all the way around. But again, guys, if you guys want to see an in-depth walkthrough and basically a description, like me describing the methodology behind building this, go ahead and watch the second video. Skip to the chapter where it says the fortress, and then watch that. We're gonna do a quick little walk through the underground here, because this is definitely something you guys, I'm sure, will like to see, which is the caverns underneath. We felt like there needed to be a jail and all that kind of stuff underneath Rathamiroth. We're not actually gonna go in the jail area, but we're just gonna do a quick little scurry around underground here, and I'm going to show you guys what all that there is. This leads up to the front entrance of Rathamiroth. As you can see right there, that leads into the main chamber, and then if you go out this door, it leads out into the front entrance of the Brock. So really like how that turned out. I am very, very happy with the overall design of this. This just really, really turned out nicely. Pretty much any view angle. This over here is actually one of my favorite view angles, and then there's one other. This one down here is another really good angle, but you kind of gotta fly to get the full profile, but still really, really liking how that turned out. But that leads us on to the next section. Well, I guess we skipped a little spot. Let's go down there first. So obviously, Dunecaledon is a fishing village, right? So that means we need, well, proper docks. And lo and behold, that is what we added. A Fish Without Fins designed the docks, and then designed some buildings down here. He did a really good job. Fingolfin and Saltheart built the Dockmaster. Saltheart built the what do you call it? The clams, crawfish, you know, basically the guy that peels the shells away. I don't even know what that's called, but that's what that's for. Some nets, and then over here we got something by A Fish Without Fins, which is the Fishmaster, and then the Fishmonger, kind of like, you know, this is just where a bunch of Dooney would be cleaning the fish out and preparing them to be, well, processed and sold. So anyways, I really like how that turned out, and it just suits the foothills of Dunecaledon so well. And as you can see, it's framed in by those stockade walls. Really, really like how that turned out. Also, you notice we changed the beach over to a more brown sand type thing. I just felt like this sand just felt too much like a resort. So I just feel like this just suits this area so much better. Coming over here, we actually have the Boatmaker. The Boatmaker is a pretty significant thing as well, because obviously if you're going to catch fish, well, you're gonna need boats. And lo and behold, we got a boat being built. And then the Boatmaker, I guess that's his main house, and then his family would live over there or something. I'm not quite sure how that all works out, but He has a pigsty out back and a garden. Man, I just love these views. But down here is actually on the far north side. Well, obviously we got the Breyer Mounts here, which is the wall of the Dooney. But right here is this is the winery slash brewery section. And this is where they export the wine. So you got a few little boats down here. And then you got a lot of little amphores and things where they would export the wine and the ale and the mead out to maybe surrounding villages. And that is the ultimate sort of idea about this, is there's a thriving economy. Here we have a barley field with a scarecrow in the middle of the field, which ironically, well, has a crow on it. So that's a paid deduction for that guy. Over here is, one thing I want you guys to notice is there's all these little apple trees. And these apple trees are actually here because we wanted an orchard, because we want to make cider as well. However, the unfortunate thing is we don't have room for an orchard, so we just decided to put apple trees all the way along the roads, and I feel like that turned out pretty good. Right here is actually the workers area for, well, this homestead. This is where they have a wine press, so you'd have a bunch of people holding these ropes in here, just kind of like squishing their feet down on all the grapes, and then all that juice would go down here. Hopefully they washed their feet beforehand, but this is just how they did it back in the day. They didn't have the fancy presses that we know of. And then this over here is actually a grindstone to grind down the barley. Very primitive design. I didn't really put much thought into it, but it is what it is. Over here we have a horse shelter, obviously place to keep the horses, and so yeah, that's what that is. Can't forget the vineyards, which, well, they're all along the hill here, and as you can see, they're all facing the path of the sun. The sun that's the south there, and as you guys know, it rises in the east and sets in the west. And so while it's going up and over the lines of the vineyard, except for these over here, unfortunately, but all of these follow the path of the sun, so that would, that would make maximum yield. And then, of course, we got the winery slash brewery homestead. So this is actually a really fun homestead. It's huge. And the reason why is because this was the original homestead up here. But then when they realized the money that they could make off of making wine and ale and stuff, they decided to add on. And so they built that, and then they added in there the brewery and the winery. Again, if you guys want to see that, it's in the second video. And then last but not least are the Breyer Mounts, which are a a very ominous thing, which is, it's the effect that we're trying to go for. Each of these larger monoliths have these crystals at the top that glow, and as you can see all the way along, those glowing crystals make for a really neat effect, especially at nighttime. As you can see, those lights really come forward, and it just has this really neat glowing effect, so really happy with how that turned out. But ultimately, the idea is that there's these massive thorns that are all the way along, and all these are little thorns as well. So basically, the idea is that these are all like little snakes, and they're all like searching for enemies that are trying to come up and attack the Dooney. And so what would happen is, like, I'm not sure if you guys remember this scene in Narnia. I think it's Prince Caspian, I think is what it was, when the Talmarines were attacking, and then the trees came in, their roots were coming underground and just like pulling everyone underground and stuff. That's kind of the idea and inspiration behind these roots here. And then ultimately it just makes for a very defensive kind of, a wall, which is the idea. So very ominous on the inside, and then very green and happy, and it blends in with the Dooney lands better on the inside. And then over here, I just wanted to show you guys kind of what the entrance into the Dooney lands would be like. As you can see, a massive gate type thing. And then that would lead into the lake, and then there would be, ideally a wall going all the way around, but yeah, that's about it. Unfortunately, there was an offer that I could not refuse, so unfortunately, we're gonna have to put an end to this series. We're moving to something quite awesome for future, so I'm excited to show you guys what that is and tell you. But just know for now, this is it for Dunecaledon. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And like I said, don't forget to watch the second video if you have the time. I know it's long, but it is a quality and very informative showcase through everything. So, like I said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to making more in the future. And I am I'm hoping to see you guys back for what is to come. Because like I said, we got some awesome stuff coming. So, you all have a great day. Have a great night. I'll see you on the next one. Till then, bye-bye.